NectarzWithin, all about mind, life, and soul enhancement.
I'd like to know a bit about your personal background and how did you just mitigate and how you are now. I knew you are a person who were literally struggling to have meals 3 days a day, and you're taking care of your ailing mother and a differently abled brother. You are taking care of them 100% end to end. And also, there were the days that you want to just do your study under the street lights in India. And of course, you got to completely rely on the scholarship, on not the process one, but gift of somebody else.
Yeah.
It's so sporadic scholarships. So this was your 20 years of story. And now if you see, you are one of the lead head manager, and you are an advocate, enthusiast of Agile. You drive the market change, be it on a technological side, on a process side, or on a people domain, be it a diversity inclusion. From this phase, how you made a big leap to this phase. How do you feel it?
When you put it like that, it looks like it's a big journey. And to also realize that I feel young.
It is a big journey.
It is a big journey. I do feel young, but when I look back at it, I think I've lived the life of probably 6 or 7 decades in my last 3 decades. And it's also interesting. I think you're one of the few people who know a lot about my personal life. Not all my friends also know to a great extent about my personal life this much. It's also I don't project it so much as well. I think many people. I recently met someone back when I was visiting India, and then this person has not met me at all, and it was the first time he was meeting me. Just seen me through Instagram and everything, and then he was saying, after I talked about a bit of hardly a 1/6 of what was happening in my life, I was just having a chat with him, and then he was like, "Oh, I had no idea. I thought you were a privileged person with born with a silver spoon, and having this amazing life and doing this, speaking everywhere and then traveling the world." And I'm like, well, you don't want to talk about everything that happened, but I think that is also essential, right? People only see
creamy layer.
Yeah, exactly. I think YouTube end of the year reel only shows all the happy moments. There'll be a lot of bad things. We never talk about those. At the end of the year, you want to celebrate the happy moments, and I think most of us live our virtual life like that itself. But we also need to talk about. We need to make it okay to talk about things that actually shape a person as who they are, and I think those have been quite a lot in my life, as you mentioned. When I look at it now, it looks big, but to be honest, at that point of life, I was just dealing with it. I think it's probably the stoic in me, or maybe that was a way for me to accept it and just moving on. Instead of getting stuck and blaming the entire world around me for my problems. I think I didn't fall into the victim mindset, victim trap, because it's very easy to fall into the victim trap, and once you fall into the victim trap, there is no escaping from it. How can you take accountability of your life if you don't accept it, that you have power over it? When you say that, oh, life has been so cruel to me, my destiny is so bad, and I have been dealt a bad hand. So now you're putting everything that's happening in your life into external factors, which you have no control over. Destiny you have no control over. Life you have no control over. These are things which are beyond your control. What is in your control is what I can do with it. So only if you say, okay, yeah, these things are happening to me. I know it's bad, but what can I do to make it better? Then you're taking some ownership. Then you have some power over to change things. I think that is how it was a bit. I think that is the logical side. I think it's easier for me to just move on from things. instead of like saying, oh, like, I was born with like a mentally challenged brother. Mom was sick. I've never seen my mom walk ever since. In my good memories, I think I've seen her probably in my childhood walking, but after that she was completely bedridden. Family was very poor. And in Tamil there is a saying, growing up poor in childhood is probably the absolute worst. I think it's a saying by Abayar. But all those things I've faced, but there's always like aspect of like, what can I do now to make this better? And when I was growing up, it was education. I was focusing on education, extracurriculars, however I can do to distinguish myself and try to be create a nice profile so that college is easier. And then once in the college also, I was focusing on trying to be the head of the student society and all that, trying to do different things so as like I have a bit more control over what I can control. The rest is anyway going to happen to me. I have no control over that. I cannot worry about that. When it happens, you have to face it. I'm not also talking about toxic positivity. So there is this recent trend of toxic positivity where they say that no matter whatever happens to you, you have to really be positive. And easier said, but it's very toxic. Like when something happens, you will have those feelings. Just face it and move on.
It's being optimistic.
Yeah, exactly. Being optimistic is better than being extremely optimistic to the level of toxicity. That is very unrealistic.
We just be blind to what exactly happening.
Yeah, exactly. That is also very unhealthy, because if you're not facing the emotions at that part of time, they are going to come and haunt you at some part of time. Because like grief or whatever is happening to you, they will have a way of like finding you in your most vulnerable moment, and then they will come very badly if you have not come in good terms with it. So when such things happen, like I lost my brother, lost my mother, lost my father, those moments were really bad. I accept it. I was my absolute worst in those moments. um, Thankfully I had people around me. I had amazing friends. Like when my mom died, my entire college came to the funeral. We didn't have relatives visiting, because relatives, the ones who were staying with us back then, they just did not bother. They were only looking for money, and if you don't have money in a society, you're not treated well. But when I was in Chennai, my mom's funeral was attended by so many students that even that people in that crematorium was asking, like, is she like a principal or something? So many students are piling up. What's happening? And then with my father, my teachers were supporting me. When my father passed away, like that was during my board exams. I had to write my board exams, and I was doing quite well. So when teachers came home, like my teachers came early in the morning in a cab with like some cash to spend. Those things are things, like people around you really support you. Have that gratitude for them. Have the gratitude that these people were with you. I still have the gratitude for the people who were staying with me in those moments. They think it's a small gesture, but I still write to them. Like whenever they are saying something or posting something about like whatever bad thing is happening in their life, I reach out to them and I say, hey, in this moment, you really helped me pass through this. You're an amazing human. You will get through this thing. For them, it's a small thing, but then that gesture goes a long way because it has helped you. Be grateful for that. Take all that kindness that universe is giving you and just see what you can do with life and improve. And I think that is how it's easier, or it has been easier for me processing those tough childhood. And they say it's a tough childhood. I was having a discussion with a psychologist this week because I was doing a evaluation for a profile, and he was saying, like, looking at your childhood, it looks like quite difficult and a tough childhood. And I said, like, maybe for an outsider it looks like a tough childhood, but I don't look at it that way. I still think of the happy moments I've spent with my family. The times when you used to rent a VCR back then. You used to didn't have the money to have your own VCR, so you used to rent it for like 100 rupees or something per day, and then rent a movie and watch it with the family. Those kind of things I really cherish. So I wouldn't find that tough, but now looking at it quantitatively, it was definitely tougher compared to a lot many. But there is a lot to also gain if you have the right perspective, I think.
Very rightly, very, very rightly put, I just take this mantra from you, what you have done. You used a sense of accountability, okay, to just go forward. Okay, I'm not gonna play the victim card. So, okay, this is what it is. I'm gonna take accountability for my own life. That's something you took, and you accepted the situation. That's when we get the accountability. And you decided to say, what can I do now? And you kept doing that smallest thing every single day possible. And that took you, into a certain way in your growth. And apparently, as you said, for outsiders it looks very tough. Probably for you it's just quite, I was happy. I'm just like any other kid, because probably the perspective you told, or I have a different view also here. Probably you also start counting on the happy moments, and those cherishing those moments. Happiness, because people have this very wrong concept of happiness. To have that, the Ferrari, or that, duplex house, or but the reality is just what we really make with our loved ones in the long,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, I think that's where the study I was telling you about, it even says that enjoyment is not about like the pleasures you have, but like the memories you make. And I think it's also something. I think if you have read about grief itself, I think you have read about the 5 stages of grief, right? Like you have anger and bargaining, finally it ends in acceptance. Now they have added a 6th concept to grief called meaning. So it takes a lot of time and it's very personal. But over the course of time, from whatever you have lost, you will gain some meaning, and you will only get that if you have some, convert all those things into some of the happy memories. Some people will even get become spiritual, or will find will find that life is short and
live the moment.
That kind of a vibe also. Different for different people, it's different. I think that is it happens over the course of time, but you have to go through all the stages of grief, and it's like a wave. It will keep coming and going. You have to process that, and it's not fully healed. For me, it still takes a lot of, sometimes I'm deeply hit by the emotions. Recently I had I think the 14th anniversary of my mom's remembrance. That day I was completely broken down, and I accepted it. And I was like, okay, this is the day I'm going to be my absolute worst. It's fine, but I have to process this. If I don't really feel these right now, at some point of time it's going to be even worse. So on that day I really made sure to think of all the memories of her, and recount all the good things that happened. And that created a lot of memories of losing someone, and that regret of the not spending the right amount of time. Everything will come and go, but it's okay. You have to feel that. Next day you'll be completely fine. You'll go about doing your normal life. Everything will be fine. But it's okay. Life just goes on.
Dear listeners, I strongly believe that this episode must have resonated with you. Lots and lots of takeaways from this episode. What is that one thing which was so inspiring you from this episode? Leave that in comment section. Can't wait to see that. And I definitely respond to it. With that note, thank you, Tadde, Namaste, and Vanakkam.
Transforming minds and enriching lives.